But if there's someone out there that's got Parkinson's, and they've got tremors and they're progressively getting worse, as is normally the case, contact me, and I will. If I can show that this works for you, and we can video it and help me build up a body of evidence, which is what I need, you know, to help others more, then I will do it for nothing. Just help us. We'll help you. You help us, and we'll get. You know, we can perhaps get your Parkinson's under control. And if it does work for you, you could rent it for future. You can have a free trial, just to help us gather some case information. And then, you know, I want hundreds of these videos of people with tremors stopping, and then Parkinson's UK won't be able to ignore that, and neurologists won't ignore it. I think we can do something fantastic. So if this is a call for anyone with Parkinson's, tremors, to get in touch with Osmio. We'll help you. You can help us, and it won't cost you a penny.
Hello, Clive to Carle here, and I'm very pleased to welcome Mark Kennett back again. And he's had some interesting results with people with Parkinson's. Mark, tell us about what you've been doing, and then we'll show a couple of the videos.
Sure, thank you, Clive. Before I start, thanks for everything you've been doing, by the way, the newsletters and the videos, and it's been supportive. and I just want to say thanks. Please carry on doing that. So about around August 2019 is when we we actually launched the Osmio Infinity Hydroxy gas machine. And around the same time, I received a video from a parts supplier in Asia, which was the video of a 70-year-old advanced Parkinson's, and showing that their tremors stopped within 2 hours. When I saw that video, I knew that wasn't fake. I knew it was genuine, and it inspired me to search for Parkinson's studies, which I did. I then collected all the information together and sent it to Parkinson's UK. Parkinson's UK's research team sent me back an email saying, thanks, Mark, we've looked into hydrogen. It looks interesting, but we've looked into hydrogen and found it to have no therapeutic effect for Parkinson's, which was obviously, for me, I was like, what? You know, doesn't make sense. So I looked into the information they sent me, which was an article from Parkinson'sNewsToday.com. Japanese study fails to show benefit for Parkinson's. But it wasn't a Japanese study. It was a European drug company's study, who are the makers of Mirapex. As a declared conflict of interest, they gave advanced Parkinson's patients 5 milligrams of hydrogen in 1 liter of water to take per day, which is nothing in terms of a dosage, as well as making the water in the lab and having it couriered overnight or whatever to the participants. Is just absolutely ridiculous study design. So I went back to Parkinson's UK with a whole list of issues with the study design, and was just, you know, met with no response. And I still haven't had a response to my critique of the study, and they're using a fake study to prop up. Seems to be no willingness to explore this. When I sent the same video to the University, Oxford Brookes, they called me on the phone and wanted to talk about it. So you know, it's completely opposite reactions I received. And then through fate alone, someone was a famous actor who has Parkinson's in the UK was recommended the Osmio Infinity by someone with muscular dystrophy who managed to get walking again, and who's a personal friend. So they recommended it. The family rang me and asked me, would it help? And I said, I don't know, but why don't I send you my one? And if it works, just please video the first 2 hours. And that was the video we got the other day. since then, I've been sending that video to neurology departments and nurses and doctors in neurology and movement disorders, and purely because of the celebrity of the person, I think they're interested. You know, instead of it being an Asian guy, it's an English video with actually our machine rather than a different machine. So same sort of gas, obviously, but we've now got a bit more information. And what happened with him was the first 2 hours, the tremors stopped, and that lasted for 3 hours. He also had the best night's sleep he's had in a long time, normally getting up 3 times in the night. He didn't get up that night. And in the morning, he had some tremors, but they went after a few hours of breathing. So it seems that in order to, you know, to have 3 hours of no tremors is a huge relief for someone with Parkinson's. I've got no idea what it's like, but I can imagine it's a relief, you know. And now I want to get the message out to everyone. If anyone with Parkinson's, or if you know someone with Parkinson's, the unfortunate thing is that the drugs given to people with Parkinson's contain dopamine, which makes them more dependent on the drug over time. So rather than them weaning them off drugs, they're actually more dependent on drugs. I really feel for people with Parkinson's. And there is a real therapy. And my disappointment was that such a compelling video as you know, we're showing here was completely ignored by Parkinson's UK. I don't understand why, but I just feel like, you know, we need to go ground up and get the message to the nurses and the doctors and have them repeat this many times to show there is a therapeutic effect for Parkinson's, and Parkinson's UK are wrong.
Well, call me a skeptic, but I think that Parkinson's UK all the employees would be out of a job if they came up with a cure. So they are deliberately blinding themselves to the possibility that hydroxy is, well, not a cure, but at least something which will stop the shaking. But if they ever found a cure, if any of the charities found a cure, they'd all be out of a job. And I believe, sorry to say this, I'm not being specific about them, but I think the majority of charities are totally and utterly corrupt.
I've had an experience with Parkinson's UK that was highly negative. And I'm just amazed how they've reacted. I mean, everyone else I've shown this to, academics, doctors, neurologists, are highly interested in what's going on here. Yet it's only because they sent me a study that said it doesn't work when I know it does work, and I've proven it enough for myself. And I'm just amazed that, you know, seeing a video of someone, you know, it working isn't enough. I mean, I know a study can read in a very dry way and it doesn't bring it to life, but a video surely does. And I can't believe in the research team of Parkinson's, because I was asking them for a participant. I said, give me people with Parkinson's, let me do this on them. At the same time, the same woman I'm talking to, Dr. Catherine Fletcher, her job is to reply to the Facebook comments, and they were advertising. They were writing posts to ask for people to be extras in EastEnders, rather than give me a person that I can just try for 2 hours. You know, I just thought that was off, you know, big time. So I'm sure they do some good work and so on. And I'm sure the majority of people working there have no idea. I think it's something that I know the head of research knows, you know, what they're doing, and they're not ignorant about this.
So how do you feel that the hydroxy is working actually on the body to stop the shaking? What do you think is going on, the mechanism?
It's interesting. I don't know, and this is why I'm going to sponsor a PhD to find out a bit more. But the point is, Parkinson's is a neurological disorder, and it's to do with, like, people often have problems starting or stopping a movement, you know, or even speech. They can't actually get off the ground, or that once they are moving, they can't stop. You know, you and I, when we want to cross the road, we just go. But for them, it's actually to kick it off. So it's something in the brain. It's something to do with the gut as well, right? This is why hydrogen works, because our guts produce liters of hydrogen per day through the anaerobic fermentation of food. That hydrogen bonds with the oxygen we breathe through our lungs in air, 21% oxygen in the air. And the two combine with each other to form metabolic water, which is the water that lives in the mitochondria of the human cell. Now, if your water in your car's battery was buggered, would your car battery work? No, it wouldn't. It's the same for the human cell. If the mitochondria doesn't work, because the metabolic water in the mitochondria is either devoid of hydrogen or has a high presence of deuterium, it doesn't work. So we've got a misfiring going on between the, Clive, when I do a punch in Kung Fu, I punch everything. It's not my heart beating to move my arm to the punch. It's every cell has its own battery and mitochondria that's moving, and it's the energy flow. It's disrupted. So it's something on a high level to do with that. And why does the hydroxy gas just work to stop the tremors? Because the misfiring of all the waves in the brain are not creating a smooth flow, so I can move my arm smoothly. I think it's to do with that. So hydrogen is fascinating because our guts, hydrogen and oxygen are not foreign to humans. We make hydrogen through our guts, we breathe oxygen through our lungs. So we're talking about something completely normal to us. And when our guts become compromised over time, it's always over time, the hydrogen production goes down and the problems start, So whether they be Parkinson's, I think they could manifest as other problems, from the root level upwards. Nothing smaller than hydrogen, and then, molecular hydrogen is the lowest thing we can talk about,
Well, very interesting. And the machines, I believe that people can rent them if they want to find out whether they're right for them, which is, they're quite expensive relatively. What are they? About just under £3,000 to buy. Is that right?
Well, they're much less. They're about 2,300 at the moment, and we're renting them as well. But if there's someone out there that's got Parkinson's, and they've got tremors and they're progressively getting worse, as is normally the case, contact me, and I will. If I can show that this works for you, and we can video it and help me build up a body of evidence, which is what I need, to help others more, then I will do it for nothing. Just help us. We'll help you. You help us, and we'll get. We can perhaps get your Parkinson's under control. And if it does work for you, you could rent it for future. You can have a free trial, just to help us gather some case information, and then. I want hundreds of these videos of people with tremors stopping, and then Parkinson's UK won't be able to ignore that, and neurologists won't ignore it. I think we can do something fantastic. So if this is a call for anyone with Parkinson's tremors to get in touch with Osmio, we'll help you. You can help us, and it won't cost you a penny. It will cost us a bit, but we don't mind because we're investing in the research. We're spending money on degrees now. So we need this information, and it doesn't exist if we don't write it up or video it,
So tell me, how are things going with the NHS? Because I know you were a long way through going through the hoops that the NHS want to bring these hydroxy machines into hospital use. How's that going?
Regarding COVID, if we're talking about that specifically, because that's where we've prematurely approached the NHS to say, I know it's not NICE approved, but we've got something that works for COVID. That we haven't pushed that at all. The university and one of the consultants there are putting together a COVID strategy in Oxford, which is including hydroxy now. So hydroxy's now got there as a COVID therapy. It's very much understood to be, on an international scale, not just here. Because University of Bristol published a paper about COVID and molecular hydrogen just in July. Oxford Brookes are a bit annoyed that they weren't the first to do that. But Steve Westerby published in the Royal College of Surgeons in May with a picture of the Osmio Infinity from Wuhan to Westminster article. I can, if you can link that to this, that'd be great. and made the argument that ventilators are killing people. Hydroxy is what people need because you're pushing oxygen under positive pressure. It's not getting through the mucus in the cytokine storm, and it's doing the cardiac damage. And you've got the most famous cardiac surgeon in the world, who's done over 15,000 open heart surgeries, telling the government, telling the NHS, telling the Royal College of Surgeons not to use ventilators and to use hydroxy in May. But no one listened to Steve Westerby. The Oxford University Health Trust said no to him. And when he came back to us, he was really annoyed. He said, no is no. And we can't, that's all we can do. So we got a no. So, I mean, University, Oxford Trust are fully motivated in the vaccine direction anyway, and they have been. That's where the money's come from. But if you've noticed in the last, the Great Barrington Declaration and the other, the guy from the Oxford Research Centre are now speaking up a bit, Yeah, so it's not, and no, Oxford is not flying in the same direction, let's put it that way. There's independent thinkers there,
So as the COVID-19 virus has never actually been isolated, and that this year influenza and pneumonia have disappeared, personally, I think that one should be saying that it is helping dramatically with respiratory issues rather than using the COVID word, because as it's never been isolated, there's no way that anybody can prove anything about that particular subject.
Absolutely, because all I went out to find out is what happened during lockdown number 1 in our hospitals locally. And I know the people, intensive care doctors, paramedics, nurses, A&E doctors, nothing especially different happened. In fact, they got probably about 30% more cases in the 80-year-old kind of care home group this flu season, but nothing more than that. And this is not justifiable to lock down the country. It's part of the lockstep program, and we all know that, so we can move on from that discussion now, can't we? Like, we all know this is a plan, so come on, let's just...
I think everybody watching this will, but I wish the population of the world realised that. So, well, look, thank you very much, Mark. If people want to see our previous interview about the machine, all you've got to do is put in Clive de Carle and hydrogen onto YouTube or BitChute, which would be better, and you should find it. And I'll put a link below as to how to contact Mark. And Mark has a number of very, very interesting other products which we'll be talking about in future videos. So thank you, Mark, very much indeed, and speak to you soon.
Thanks, Clive. Take care. Thank you so much.